All right. Welcome, everybody. This is the Friends with Benefits podcast. I'm Justin. This is Pansy. And we are here tonight to do what we do and to talk about things that affect your business, affect our business, that affect our relationships. And we want to talk to and meet as many people and build as many relationships as possible. One, because we like meeting people, and two, because we want to grow our businesses together, collaboration, right? Um, Pansy recently did a speech with Jesse Stanton's group. I don't know if you guys don't know who Jesse is. I'll put his link in the bio. Go check out his
The
group,
Growth Co. Yeah.
the Growth Co. Amazing, amazing, inspirational guy, successful business owner, um,
Great
amazing speaker, good
community.
friend, good community.
Yeah.
Um, and he's a good teacher too. I think I mean, he probably maybe knows that, but he's a good teacher as well. He has a way of breaking things down simply and explaining it in bite-sized chunks that you can understand and all of that. So go check out Jesse's group. Pansy
Yeah.
and
He
I,
has a YouTube and all that.
yeah,
So,
he has a YouTube. Well, let's talk about your speech though.
yeah, I did my speech
You
that we were
did.
speaking about last week.
Yeah, you did.
Um, I would definitely say I have some improvements to do, obvious,
Sure, sure. Don't we
um,
all?
yeah. Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I didn't completely bomb, but
I thought you
definitely.
did really well. I thought you did, especially for, look, guys, she only had 2 minutes to do a speech and it
Create
was,
impact, right?
yeah, that creates impact, that inspires, and all of that fun stuff. 2 minutes is a very short amount of time to
Yeah.
get out what you want to get out, and to pass along the message you're trying to pass on. And I think Pansy did a really good job. She was very emotional. It came through. I shouldn't say emotional, but very authentic, in the way she delivered it.
It was
Uh,
emotional.
it was emotional, but I don't think it wasn't like you were trying to go out there and be intentionally just emotional. You were trying to do a speech and you were trying to get your message out there, but you were, and we kind of talked about this, like you almost can't help it when you're talking about difficult things from your past
Yeah.
and places like major transitional periods in your life, like you can't help but kind of relive it a little bit,
Yeah.
right? um but I thought you did a great job. I thought you did a really, really good job,
I
and it
appreciate
came,
that.
you got a lot of good feedback. Obviously you're not going to be like a professional speaker the first time, and especially not in 2 minutes. um
Right.
and you so Jesse did this thing where you know he's trying to find people that will speak at his event, and he's trying to see who's really serious about it, right? And so he put up this event, or this
Competition.
contest, whatever you want to call it. And Pansy just like said,
I said,
whatever, you
F it.
know, yeah, YOLO,
Why
YOLO,
not? No,
yeah.
I hate that saying. It's you only die once.
We only die once. We only live and die once. Um, well,
You live
but
every day.
true. Um, that's an interesting way of looking at it. I like that. So she took the challenge. She said, "Challenge accepted," and took it, not knowing what the heck she was doing, not knowing what she was going to talk about, not knowing anything, but just said, "Look, I something is calling me to do this," and she did her first part of it. Obviously, there's more stages to this. They do a 2 minute speech, then they're going to do a 10 minute speech, and each time they're whittling more and more people off, right?
Right.
So it is a competition, obviously, but she's going to be going through that, and each time I think she's just going to get better and better. And even if you don't get chosen to speak on stage, which I think you'll have a really good shot at it anyway, um, I think you'll get chosen. To be honest, if I'm being honest, I think you'll get chosen. Well, because you have a good message and you're authentic and all of those things,
Well,
and I
I
think you're going to get
appreciate it.
better. And I
Yeah.
think you're going to get better. But
I
Uh,
am. I'm going to improve. Absolutely. I'm going to work on it.
yeah. Um, so let's talk about it because watching, I wish I could share with you guys a little bit of the speech, but we'll do that later. We'll show the speech later. But when I watched it, my impression was that, you know, again, you were kind of reliving some of that, and it was bringing up emotions, it was bringing up feelings. But at the end of it, you got your point across, which was, why don't you talk about that for a second? What was the message you were getting across to everybody?
To love and live for yourself, to thrive in life, not just exist.
Hmm. Think there's a lot of people just existing out there, huh?
Yeah, I was one of them,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, sitting around like, oh, that needs to be done. And why
Mm-hmm.
is there homeless people? Why is this happening? But
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to sit around and complain about it and not do anything about it. Oh, but
Mm-hmm.
there's red tape and da da da. Who
Mm-hmm.
cares? Do something about it. Don't just sit around and complain about it.
Well, and you actually have you have a interesting perspective, and you can actually say that with conviction because you were in a place where you were essentially like almost on your deathbed, and you still found the energy and the drive to. You had a couple of choices. You could just let yourself wither away and die, or you could choose to live and thrive, right? And figure your way out of it, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but that took, you know, knowing that it was me,
Hmm.
me taking care of me. Nobody
Hmm.
else was going to do it for
Hmm.
me. And if I wanted a better life, because I wasn't going to stay if it was going to be the exact same stuff that I've already experienced, you know, kind of like made a deal with, the universe, whoever you want to call it, that the only way I was staying and sticking around is it had to be way better than it's already been.
Hmm. Well, yeah,
So,
but you went through it. And so the point I'm trying to make is like, a lot of people tell you like, oh, don't you, pick yourself up by your own bootstraps, like figure it out, you know, get out there and do something. But a lot of people, I think some people say that and they haven't really done it for themselves. Like you've actually really gone through that stuff. And you've gone through some really now we're always growing and getting better and we're
yeah,
gonna hit crossroads like that multiple times in our life if we're progressing, if we're getting, if we're moving forward and trying to do better with our lives. But you went through a very difficult situation
yeah.
and you decided to get yourself out of it. And so that's a strong message. And I think
It's a choice,
it
right?
is a choice. It is a choice at a certain point. It is a choice. Just like, um, drug addiction, right? They say it's a disease, and it is, right? Drug addiction is
All
a disease.
addictions.
All addiction is essentially a disease. It's a dis-ease, a disorder, a dis-ease of your body, right? And but at a certain point, knowing that that's true, if there's a solution, if there's a solution, even though it might be hard, if there's a solution to resolve it and fix it and live a new life, at a certain point it's a choice. You're
Yeah,
making a conscious choice to stay in that situation
yeah.
because it's what do they say? It's the devil you know, as opposed to the devil you don't know, or it's the you've gotten comfortable in some weird way. It's just
Well,
it's
yeah,
just what
you're
you know.
uncomfortable, but yet
Yeah,
comfortable enough
yeah,
that you think that doing something different is going to be even more uncomfortable than where you're at, you
yeah.
know, and not everybody's willing to put in the work.
It is hard, man. It's because it's hard. It takes work every single day. But that's why they say, you don't look at you don't look at it like, oh, I'm in this situation. It's going and look at the years or potentially multiple tens of years it's going to take you to get out of the situation. You look at it day by day, right? What can I do today a little bit differently? tomorrow a little bit differently. You don't look at the whole thing. You compartmentalize it and you do it in chunks. And that's how you get out of it.
Yeah.
Because
What
of
I
course
think,
you're, oh
yeah, it
yeah.
takes, yeah, different steps. I mean, there's a lot of things that went into getting myself healthier
Mhm.
and able to do all of this. Um, like you're saying, like a little at a time. Me, I kind of went all in at the same time on so many things. Um, I'm like, because I needed different, like
Mhm.
now,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah, I need something different right now. And
Yeah.
so talk a little bit about that. What did that look like? Was it because you did steps too? It wasn't just like it didn't just happen the next day. Like you had to go through steps too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So you
Like,
should, I mean, you don't have to talk about it now, but you should really talk, you should start talking about that, like what that looked like. I mean, see if you can recall it. And that's maybe, there's your 10-minute speech right there. Talk a little bit about the steps you took
yeah.
and how difficult each one was. And it just, it's okay because it was just a day by day thing.
Well, one of
And,
the steps was
mm,
um taking supplements,
ooh,
getting involved with the supplement company.
taking care of
Like,
your body.
yeah, because it's not
Hmm.
just they don't it's not just here's your supplements, right?
Hmm.
Especially if you're a promoter, then they're training you more to be like a health coach type of thing almost,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
learning about the different vitamins
Hmm.
and what they're good for, why you want to take them, right? And how they extract them, everything. Like they told
Hmm.
us a lot of that stuff. If you go on there, um, on the website, you can get a free account and they'll give access to all the videos that I had access to. But you know, that was a start. Like that
What
was
was the name of the account that you're
it's
sharing?
it's Thrive by
Thrive.
Lil.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
put information in there.
I'll definitely put that in the description if for who's watching, for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, I'm still using the products. This is like my third or fourth year
Nice. Okay.
now. So, but because of that company, then I found Pace, right?
Mhm.
And then that's how I found you and all
Mhm.
my other new friends.
Yeah. Yeah. And would you say, so okay, so you started on your body, you started taking supplements,
My,
right? So,
yeah, yeah,
which also helps your mind, right?
yeah,
Mind, body,
yeah.
spirit. And then where would your friends come into play here? How much did your friends help you in this process?
The friends I had,
Hmm.
nobody helped me. It was on my own.
Was it on? Yeah, it was on your own. Okay.
Well, I did have one friend that somewhat helped me. She's the one who I found the supplements through.
Okay. So
Um,
that's something. That's
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Um, you know, and then
But
what about,
beyond that, I didn't really have much help at all from friends or family.
yeah, and that's why it's such a powerful story and it's such a difficult story.
Mm,
Because, but a lot of people look,
I guess I was just used to it.
maybe for me that's just crazy because
It
my
wasn't
family,
because I didn't ask,
yeah, no, I know.
you know?
Uh, I come from a good family, and for me, that's just bananas. And I know a lot of people who come from you know tight families, like it's just crazy that you would go through something like that, and then your family would help you, despite asking them. But there's also plenty of people that come from messed up families where that's not so unheard of, right?
Yeah,
And so I actually know more people that come from, not so great families than people with good families, which is also a little scary. Um, there's a
that
lot
is
of people.
scary. That's
It's
why
actually probably more common than not. I'll be
we
honest.
need to change the
We
dynamic.
do.
Like
We do. Yeah.
people, we have this platform. So we choose what we put out there and how we represent ourselves. But
Mhm.
it all goes beyond that, right? We can't just have one persona here, and then someone sees us out and about and we're completely different, right?
Right.
You know, just be genuine and be a kind person, right? In general.
Yeah, but when it comes to family, everybody's different. Everybody's gonna, look, it comes from people behave because of the way they were brought up and everything else, right? It just like it travels down the
It
family
does
line.
rub off. It
Hmm.
does. It really
Hmm.
does. I mean,
Hmm.
you don't know how many times I caught myself. I'm like, dang,
Yeah.
you know?
Hmm.
And so it's something that you learn and then you unlearn.
Hmm.
It takes time.
I mean, I've watched people who've said like, I'm never gonna be like my mother, that have literally become like their mother.
Yeah.
Like they were so adamant about I am never going to be like her. But what's crazy is while they weren't 100% like that them, in the end, or the direction they started to take, it was exactly like their
Yeah.
mother would have behaved, right? So some of that you can escape, some of it you can't. It's not necessarily all their fault. It just you get encoded, right, with this stuff. So that's why it's important, one, to be authentic. That's why you were good with your speeches. You were authentic, and you've got to make a conscious choice to change that, right? You really do, and it takes work. But that's what the whole business journey is about. It's about not just the end
More of,
game,
yeah.
it's the journey, right? And it's
It,
the friendships you make along the way that help change you also.
yeah, I've had more support in the last few years than I've
Mm.
had probably in my entire life.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's really,
Yeah.
really good.
Between the real estate community and my double Dutch club, my
Hmm.
40 plus double Dutch club.
Hmm. And
We
by
do.
the way, that's part in part what we're really trying to do here. That there we have more than just that as the goal, but like in part, like we want this to be a place where people can come and find those and build those relationships because it's super important. It's super important. It's more important. Like for my first year going down this journey, I like all I did was just meet people. I didn't even start anything. I wasn't starting a business. I wasn't trying to do really anything at that point. I was just trying to meet people and talk to people who are already in it. And that was probably some of the best time that I've spent, right? Is building those relationships and all of that. So but anyways, so you've got another 10-minute speech to do. We're gonna work on that
Yeah.
and we're gonna share. I'd love to on here to share your speeches with the community, with the people who, are on the subscribe to the podcast so they can watch it. Um, because it's just a good example of like you don't know what you're capable of until you put your mind to it and actually do it.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is like this speech thing, like Pansy was so I don't want to say nervous, but anxious the whole time leading up to the speech. And like what's crazy is like after these few speeches, it's gonna be like nothing to you after that. It'll still be like I don't want to say nothing, but it's gonna be like not as anxiety prone for you, right?
Yeah.
It'll just be you'll
I'll
be
probably
comfortable
get
with it.
used to it after a while.
Yeah, you'll get used. It's just like anything else, right? You actually do it, and give yourself some grace if you make some mistake. So I used to in another life I used to play in a band and
In another life.
we used to say like you know oh man like we talk about like well look we got to get this perfect so that when we're up there we're not making mistakes. It's like that's the wrong way to look at it. We actually learned this along the way. It's like you're gonna make mistakes up there.
Yeah.
Like it's not about not making mistakes. It's about making mistakes and rolling with it and how you roll with it when you do make a
Guest
mistake.
appearance. I
There you
can't
go.
go.
So, but you get the point I'm making, right? I mean, it's not about you just expect to make mistakes. It's not the same thing with a speech or anything you try for the first time. You just expect you're going to make mistakes. It's not even about that. It's just about improving and how you improve.
What? This cat is driving me bonkers.
Hmm. Is that like anytime Pansy gets on a Zoom, the cat gets jealous. I think it hears her talking to me or hears her talking to people and like has to get itself all up in the podcast. Um,
Uh,
so
at least we had one guest appearance.
yeah, we had one guest appearance today. That's okay. You know what? Look, the podcast, we're doing this at 6 p.m. We might change it at some point, but we're doing it at 6 p.m. um Pacific time because we're not trying to compete with everybody else's Zooms that happen during the day. Well, you never know. Well, for any of you who are maybe watching this, put in the comments like what time of day like you would prefer having the live happen or having the show happen. Um, the point of this is not for us to just come up here and blab the whole time about stuff on a live. It's for you guys to jump in here. That's why we
Yeah.
share it. That's why we share the Zoom link for you guys to jump in here. We can interview you. You can just sit if you don't want to be interviewed, you can just sit in the background and listen but it's about people coming in here and meeting each other. So that's what we kind of want to promote. And we're sort of stealing a little bit of the format from JJ in some sense, but it's not just about that. It's again, it's just about it's about meeting people and it's about having something of value to talk about on here. So we're giving more value away than we're asking from people. Um, Speaking of which,
Ultimately, we want business
we
partners,
want
right?
business partners, right? We want business relationships, but we also want relationships too.
Yeah.
Friends make the whole thing go so much smoother. Like no joke. Friends make the whole thing go a lot smoother. That's what
I
JJ
agree.
always talks about, right? What do I want? What's the most valuable thing that you have? It's not your money. Hint, hint, it's not your money. And it's not your time. Although time is one of the most valuable things that you have. It's your friendship. It's the relationship, right? Um, so I'm gonna take the second half of this to kind of talk about something that I've been thinking about a little bit. And that is business funding, business credit for people who are listening to this who have heard about business funding, heard about credit, heard about all of that stuff. This is one of the places that Pansy and I are going to one of the things Pansy and I are going to be learning about and raising capital and business funding and all those things, right? Kind of all tie in a little bit. But I've been going through, I mean, I started my business credit, business funding journey a while ago. I've been doing it with my other business partner, but I started on my own, got into Pace's Gator community, started learning some of that. But it's one of those things for folks who are listening and who are trying to start a business, who are trying to build a business. Business funding is one of the um, most powerful tools that you have available to you, besides like tax benefits and you know revenue and all these things that come with running a business. Business credit and business funding is one of the most powerful things you can learn about and you can do. Um, and man, I have spent a lot of money and lost a lot of time and and I'm grateful for that. But for folks who are interested, we have resources for that too. So I wanted to throw that out there. If you're interested in that and that's something you want to learn about, I have resources for that. Be happy to share those resources with you to point you in the right direction because trust me, I've gone to the wrong places and I've learned the wrong information. And there's a lot of wrong information out there. I
Yes.
don't want to say, and it's not necessarily bad information. It's just not probably the right information for where most people are at with their businesses. Let's just put it that way. I'm not going to go into too much of the weeds in this, but if you guys would like to hear more about it, I would be happy to do a podcast episode with Pansy and talk about it. But it really is like, especially if you're talking about buying real estate, like look, we can find deals. Pansy and I have the expertise together to know what a deal looks like and to be able to underwrite a deal and be able to find a deal and know what it looks like I said. But when it comes down to it, partnering and doing deals together, somebody's got to bring the deal and somebody's got to bring the money, right? That's that's the formula. And so think about it. If you can get business funding that eventually is not tied to you personally, not tied to your personal credit score, and use that money to grow your business, grow your portfolio, grow whatever you want in your business, um, that's going to put you leaps and bounds ahead of most people who don't understand it, don't know about it, and don't take advantage of it, who just look at it as more debt and something that's scary and should be avoided.
Mm.
The reality is it's a very powerful tool when used the right way. And so that just comes down to working with people who understand it and you learn about it and then you use those same strategies for yourself and use those same um, guidelines for yourself, I should say, right? So, the reason I'm bringing this up, the reason I was thinking a lot about this is because I was looking back on going, a lot of what I've paid for and a lot of what, the business has gone
Oh yeah,
through.
after our conversation earlier.
Yeah, yeah. And it just was amazing to me. Um, because I'm going through
Mark,
the business funding thing, like we are.
you can say his name. That's
Oh
okay.
well, I've already said so. If you guys don't know who Mark Chang is, we'll introduce Mark later on. But
Yeah.
Mark and I have been through the ringer. We've lost a lot of time, but I'm so grateful. Well, one for Mark, but I'm so grateful for the um the struggles that we've gone through in this because it's taught us some really valuable lessons. I'm also grateful for the relationships that we've built along the way in doing and going through this. Um, but now it's time one for because we're our own customers. Our goal is to help other people go through and get business funding for their businesses and doing it the right way and helping others do that. But we are our first customers. You know what I mean? Like we went through it. We're still going through it. We're still getting to our next round and next round and next round. And I'm super excited to see where it goes. But even just to this point, I've learned a lot of things that I'm happy to share with people about the business funding side. So if your guys' ears perked up when I said business funding, let me know. You can put some comments in the chat or put some comments in the video. You can DM me in the Facebook group, and I'll put a
Yeah,
link
we have a
in.
Facebook group for the
By the
pod.
way, yeah, by the way, we have a Facebook group. I'll put a link to the Facebook group in the chat. I'll put all of these resources in the description. I keep saying chat, but I'll put a link to all these in the description of
We
the
know
video.
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Um, but I mean, it really is, because what are you gonna, you either partner with somebody, right? Or learn how to raise capital, right? Which is a whole thing in and of itself.
Right.
Or you learn how to get the funding for yourself, right? And so that's the point. Something interesting about business credit, like for example, can you get business credit without a business? No. You need a business.
I was
You
gonna
need a
say,
business. Yeah, you need a business. Can you get business funding with no business revenue? Yes. Can you get business funding with no business plan? Yes. Can you get business funding with um, not so great credit? Yes, but you better have something to show on the business side. Reason I'm bringing this up is for the most part, despite what anything you've heard, most, and this me included, most folks who are going to go after business funding, it's going to require a personal guarantee. So the first place you start is either with your personal credit, and I'm giving away a little bit of value here, but you either start with your personal credit and getting it boosted up. You want to be at 740 or higher. 740, I'd say 730 or higher, but 740 is ideal. You want to be get it up there. And if you can't do it, then you partner with somebody who already has it or who can do it. Okay, so that's a little bit of secret sauce right there. But the reason I'm saying this is because you're usually going to need a personal guarantee. If you can't show revenue coming into your business, you can't show a business plan, you can't show any of that stuff, guess what? You're going to need a personal guarantee, right? And
Makes sense.
usually, honestly, and when you start off going after credit cards or business credit cards, um, a lot of that stuff is not as important, really. They're not going to ask you for a whole bunch of docs about your business usually. But it depends, right? It depends. And that's where understanding kind of the way the game is played is important. But just know that most of the time it's going to start with your personal credit. So if you can do yourself a favor, get your personal credit straightened out and or partner with somebody that's already got it straightened out, right? Those are the two quickest ways that I know of. There's other ways that I'm not going to go into here too. There's other strategies that I'm not going to go into here, but um, it's really, again, it's one of those, just like learning how to raise capital and getting good at that is super powerful. This is equally as powerful. So, um, anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there and talk about that. But yeah, boy, I mean, we've been through the ringer. Um, we've made a lot of, mistakes along the way, but we've learned from those mistakes, and I'm grateful for the mistakes. Um, I'll give you another example. For example, the name of your business is important with business funding, right? How you name your business. What kind of business are you? It's not even just the name, it's what kind of business are you? In other words, what's your SIC code? Like if a bank or a lender looks you up, what's your business? Well, guess what? My first business the business name that I chose had the word investments in the title.
Mm.
Investments, right? And that's a red flag. That's one of those things that like a lender is going to look at and be like, "Oh, investments, huh? Yeah, we'll pass." So there's industry types that are red flags to banks and to lenders. There just are. They're just more risky, right? Now again, with if we're talking just credit cards, it's not as big of a deal, but it's still kind of a big deal. And so I had to do a name change. I had a decision. I could either start a brand new company with a different name, or I could change the name of my business. I chose the latter. I chose to change the name of my current business because the business I had been around for a couple of years, had a little bit of history, had a bank account, had a little bit of seasoning in the bank account. So that's all good stuff. And I didn't want to start from square one again. But in changing the business name, I was given some advice by some tax professionals. I had 2 years worth of taxes that I hadn't submitted yet for my business. And they told me, look, it'd probably be a good idea if you hold off on doing the business name change when we submit these taxes because you've got 2 years of tax returns. We don't want to file 2 years of tax returns and be requesting a business name change at the same time because the IRS is notorious for screwing these things up or getting confused and maybe triggering an audit or something like that. It's just we've seen weird stuff like this before at the IRS, so we recommend that instead of submitting your name change with your taxes, which is how every other sane business does it, if you're going to change the name of your business, you do it when you file taxes because it's all pretty much automated at that point. Um, Instead, I waited until after I submitted my taxes and I filed a letter with the IRS, sent the IRS a letter. And I've got to tell you, it was one of the longest, most arduous processes I've ever been through. Because one, it's the IRS, and the IRS does whatever they want. And also, it's just bad timing too. You've had Trump fire half the IRS and everything. It's just timing thing and just an IRS thing. So if you have a choice, if you look at your business and you're like, well, the name of my business is probably not the best for business funding. Um, do the name change when you file your taxes. That's my recommendation there. And you might be asking, well, what are the names of the businesses? What are the types of businesses that are red flags that I should know about? Great question. I will share that next time. I'm going to save that. I'm going to save that for next time.
You
I
can't
will
give
try.
it all the way now,
Can't give
huh?
it all the way out for now.
You
I'll
have
share
to.
that next time. And if you do, well, I'll tell you what, you know what? Because it is about value, right? It is about giving away value. I will put a link to the file with the list of red flag businesses in the chat.
Business names.
Business names, well, not just business names, but business types, right? And some of the names you should avoid. I'll put a file together and I will put a link to that in the chat, in the description rather, so you guys can have that. That's my gift to you guys. But um, look at it and see like is that, and again, as far as your business name and what your business type is, we're just talking about bank facing information. Okay. Um, so, but again, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. So I'll provide you guys that list and let me know if you have questions, but I'm happy to share and point you guys in the right direction. I'll give you a link so you can come check out what Mark and I are doing and sign up if you decide to sign up, great. But um, we're like I said, we were our own first customers in this. Um, so yeah, anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up and I'm super excited to see where we get with it. And I know it's going to help Pansy and I for sure. And it's going to help we're going to help other people get there as well. So that's our goal with that.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah.
There's actually a link
Mhm.
connected to my QR code.
Oh, there is. Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
To a lot
Yeah.
of the things that we've mentioned.
Hmm.
Not all of them, but to majority of them.
Well, and again, I'll bring more of this up as we go along as I'll put together more content for this, but I'd like to see how interested people are in it before I really start talking a lot more about it because I'm not trying to hijack the podcast just to talk about that.
Right.
There's other topics to go over and other
Yeah.
things
What
we're
else do we
learning.
want to discuss?
I
Or are
mean,
we wrapping it up?
we've been on for about 40 minutes. I'd say it's okay to wrap up now, but I'd like to hear from people. I'd like to hear what people want to learn, what people want to hear about. One thing,
Yeah. Give us
Pansy.
some feedback, good and
Mhm.
bad, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Um, you know, Pansy wanted to talk about a little bit more about like what relationships mean for your business. And, you know, what
Yeah.
would you say?
Types of friends are we looking for?
Yeah, what would you say? I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Um, I'm looking for people that want to get out of the house and,
Mhm.
you know, do things out in nature and have conversations about real estate and business and finances and
How about people who
travel.
actually want to, well, I know you want to travel for sure. And
Yeah,
I want,
like I want, yeah. So I'm looking for people that are interested in all the same things that I am.
mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say for me, you don't have to necessarily be interested in all the same things that I'm interested in.
Not all the same things.
Well, and I think Pansy and I too also want, not just talk about business. We want to do business
Yeah.
with you, right?
Yeah, we need also like friends with businesses that accommodate our business, right?
Yeah, I just met and I've heard his name for a long time now, but I just officially met today James Ziegler. Um, and I'll put his information in the description as well. But this guy is just another example of someone who has been through it and has learned from some of the most successful people in sub two and has really put together a framework, a business framework, and he lives to help other people figure out their business framework as well. And he's just one of the best guys out there for that. And he's an integrator at heart, and more than, but he spent the time. He really spent the time making a lot of the mistakes and figuring out um, a framework for building a successful business, a successful wholesaler real estate acquisitions business specifically. But his framework will work to for anyone to build a successful business, because there's just parts of it that are like this applies no matter what you're trying to do, right? So he's another great resource and I would like to have James on here at some point as well, so he can talk about it himself. But um, just another awesome resource that we
Yep.
have available. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. We want friends, we want relationships, we want to do business with you guys. We want to learn and grow, collaborate with you guys, and we want to share our knowledge and what we've learned with you guys, and just grow, just continue to get bigger and bigger, and until we've all of a sudden reached that mountaintop, so that then we could shoot for the next mountaintop, right?
Yeah. Let's
So,
go as high as we can. Why not?
mhm, mhm, mhm. So I think we'll end it at that. But really, guys, if you guys are watching these, if you guys do watch these, if you're watching it obviously after the fact, give us some feedback. We do. I know I am. I'm going back and reading stuff. So give us feedback for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right,
Have a good
guys.
one.
Have a good one. And if you're watching this on this Friday, have a wonderful Memorial Day.
Oh, yes. The holiday.
Yep. All right, guys. Peace.
Peace.